Hello, friends. Susan Axelrod here. Welcome to another episode of this book show podcast, Your Book, My Time. I created this podcast to support people who have self-published or published with small independent publishers. I remember the day that I wanted to publish a book and I didn't know how to go about it and I didn't know how to promote it. Then I got my first book and I wanted to be on podcasts. I didn't know how to do that. And I decided, as with everything I have done in my own business, to simply do it myself. So I am always delighted to have guest authors on this show, people who have either already published their own books or perhaps might be in the process, because sometimes when you have the opportunity to have a podcast conversation, when you're in progress, it helps gives the impetus to keep going and complete your book. Today, once again, I am delighted to be the guest author on this podcast with my dear friend Nadine Searle, the Calmer Self Coach, acting as the host. Hello, Nadine. Good to see you.
Hello, Susan. It's good to see you too. Looking gorgeous, I have to say.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Some time ago, my friend Nadine said to me, Susan, how about if I interview you on your book show about your books? And it didn't take me very long to say, okay. And then thank you so much for the opportunity. So Nadine, I'm going to hand this show over to you now as the guest host, and I am in your good hands with deep gratitude.
Oh, thank you so much, Susan. And you're absolutely right. You're so good at saying yes, aren't you? And I would say everyone needs to say yes more often. But this is such a joy to talk to you again about one of your wonderful books. And I think if I'm right, this is your fifth one, is it? Fifth
Yes, it
book
is.
in soul alignment.
Yes, and
Now
I
this is
have it here. I want
yes,
to hold it up and show people because
yes,
I love my book covers.
yes,
This is the
yes.
book. It's called In Soul Alignment. Yeah,
Beautiful.
thank you, Nadine.
And you've got there your little subtitle, an anthology to support your purpose. Now that
Yes.
I'm already getting these feelings that this is deep, this is powerful. Not that your others aren't, but this is something. I've been dying to talk to you about this book, and I really feel that it's um, it's about your soul experience. It's about connecting inside. Something that is so important for all of us to do. But I've got to be honest with you, it's quite difficult to do for some people, isn't it? I know it was for me. And your book, as all of them do, they are not just books to read, they're books to do. They're books that support us, show us, teach us, help us. And this is exactly that, isn't it? You are going to, obviously, the question is going to be, what is soul alignment? You answer that beautifully straight away. And I'll say very quickly, just in a sense, it means a connection to yourself, going inside to find answers. And I'm not belittling that, but there's so much to talk about in this book. That is the big question, isn't it? And I just want everyone to know that it's well answered. And I feel as well that one of the books that I think it was the first one I interviewed, but Your Job is to Be, is an anthology to inspire soul connection. So again, they go hand in hand so beautifully, don't they? And a lot of people I know get your books as a package, don't they? Because they do follow on and they support each other. So the whole, finding your soul connection is going to be there in this book and in the others, isn't it? So it is wonderful to do that. So I've just got to quote something that you say as well. It's living comfortably in your skin and happily in your mind. I get chills. I get chills because don't we all want that? This is it. This is what you're going to with this book, and the way that you talk all the time, and the way that you work with your clients and help and support people. This is what you give people, isn't it? Which is which is
Yeah.
beautiful. So what I what made you feel that you wanted to put this in a book form? Because as I say, it's what you do all the time. But what made you feel you wanted to be really, really organised and get it all in a book like you do? What made you sort of feel that this is really important?
I mean, just in the few things that you've said, we could be here all day just talking about those things, which is
Mm,
so fun. It's just so
yes,
good,
yeah.
Nadine. So, you will read in the book, as you did read, Nadine, you'll see that in the day that I lived in my type A self,
Mm,
not comfortable in my body, not happy in my mind, had this feeling of unrequited wanting. And as more than 20 years ago, I started on this journey to what I call enlightenment, journey to the light, to feel better, to feel lighter. I came across this word soul, and I really didn't understand it. But more importantly, I came across the two terms, alignment and resistance. And in those days, I had no idea what that was about. I really didn't know what that type of alignment was. You know what alignment is with regard to your car tires, but not with regard to your mind, your body, your soul, your
yeah.
emotional experience of life. And from that time to this, I have been on a journey really exploring that. And the progression of my books, as you say, follow my own journey, as it turns out. I never really quite did make the bookend connection that you just made for me from having read all of my books of your job is to be as the beginning, right?
Mm, mm,
And the anthology to inspire soul connection to the end, the final book of the 5-part series, in soul alignment, an anthology to support your purpose. So I want to thank you for that. But I knew that I needed to write about this and put this in a book because of my work with clients as a personal coach, as a business development coach. I've worked with so many women in the second half of life who lived life a bit unconscious, a bit unaware, because they were doing all the things they were supposed to do.
yeah.
And then later, you come into a completely different phase of life. If you have been a mother with your own birth children, they're grown and gone, you're on your own, you may or may not be able to maintain your relationship. If you haven't had your own birth children, still in all, you've been taking care of everyone around you, perhaps people at work or your community, organizationally, whatever. And then later you come into this time of life where you suddenly like become aware. And I realized, speaking with people, that they had no idea what it felt like to be comfortable in their skin and happy in their mind.
Mm,
And so, in my work over the last several years, I have begun working more with young professionals, Nadine, and I'm talking about people even under the age of 30 and well under the age of 40. And I'm talking with them all about this. And this is the thing they want to hear about most. And
amazing.
so, kind of bringing all of that together, that is why I really decided to create this book.
Mm. I love that. But I'm quite encouraged to hear that young people want to connect with this the most because that's really important, isn't it? And that's good to hear.
It
So I'm
is,
pleased. Yeah.
and it's definite and it's clear, and not just young women. I have young men clients
Mm,
in their 30s, and they
mm,
come back, they hire me, they pay me, they come back and come back, they show up for themselves and their families, and we are talking about this.
good.
It's a joy and a blessing.
That is, it's good to hear. I'm very encouraged by that. That is wonderful. Now, I'm going to quote you again now, actually, where you have said the soul wants to be healthy, well, and healed. And again, I love that. And you were just talking about, a lot of people, we have a soul connection. I think it's something we're born with, isn't it? We have this in us, we lose it through life, through lots of reasons. But it's really, really important, isn't it? To be, as you say, I'm going to quote you again, in your consciousness and coming back to your soul, connecting, because we do lose it and it's very easy to lose it. And you actually said to me once when you were helping me personally, as you do so often, when I was going through my cancer treatment, and I lost my soul a bit. Fear took over, the treatment plan took over, lots of things. And you could see me losing that a little bit. And then we had a conversation, and you could see how I'd progressed, how things were moving forward and everything. And you said to me, and it was so precious, to invite your soul back in. And I just went, oh my word, that's what I need to do. It's time now. I needed to, maybe, I don't know if it's the right way to look, but push it away, because I was dealing with, as I say, the fear was taking over lots of other things. And I had lost my soul, and I was quite connected with my soul and my intuition and everything. And you just invited me to say, let your soul back in. It's okay now. It's time now. And I did. I used that. So thank you very much. I did it with my meditation, in my nature walks and things like that. Just going, come on, it's okay. It's safe now. It's okay. The time is right for you to come back. And that was so powerful. And again, this is what you do. Is you just said it to me, didn't you? Because you felt it. So that is something. And again, just to say to people, we do lose it, and it's okay to lose it. Sometimes it's okay to put it to one side, isn't it? But to remember, and have a prompt maybe to welcome it back in. Yeah.
Right. So that would be an example of soul alignment versus this resistance. So this is a really good way to describe this. So surely when you receive a cancer diagnosis, and then you have to go through the trauma of that, and then you begin the process of a treatment, and you have to go through the trauma of that, and you're not only are you uncomfortable in your skin is uncomfortable on you. And so there's lots of things conspire to suppress your soul, or keep your soul out, or keep you disconnected. And in some ways, as I've watched and observed with you, because we speak so openly to each other and so deeply without worrying of judgment and so forth. I've observed this. I've seen this with you. You have to protect yourself. That's self with a capital S, from the brunt of what's happening. So as you say, that was a very resonant thing that I said to you in our natural conversation that we have. And I felt definitely just now, even when you reminded me of it, this idea of resistance. So let's talk about resistance for a second, because sometimes, unless you realize what resistance is, you can't get to being in alignment. And so resistance can show itself in many ways. It can show itself with a thought that might be a negative thought, a negative personal thought, the self-critic, as we say, the negative perseverating thoughts. It can create just simply negative thoughts in your mind where you're feeling off center, off balance. Did I do that? Why is he yelling at me? Why did she do that to me? I feel out of control, and so on and so forth. And in those moments, if our listeners and viewers can understand what this resistance is, your body actually is, moved and beaten and battered, but, in the most subtle way. It's an internal way. And if you understand and you bring resistance and alignment into your life, then you can begin to recognize resistance when it shows itself to you. Resistance often shows itself when we're trying to, make our point known to somebody who we think isn't listening. Resistance shows itself to us in work when we want to do something and the boss, doesn't understand or won't let us, etc. Resistance, then, if we don't see it, acknowledge it, realize it, become aware of it, and address it, can actually come into impact our physical body. It can show up as a headache. It can show up as a stomach ache. It can turn into migraines or gut problems. It can turn into an autoimmune disorder. It can turn into the physical manifestation of the mental, emotional, and I say spiritual difficulty that is within us. That's what resistance is. It's feeling out of order. So Susan, are you supposed to be perfectly aligned all the time? oh, that's not what I'm saying. That's ridiculous because we're humans,
Mm.
right?
Yes, yes,
But once we become aware of what resistance is, once we become aware of this idea that, what the inner conflict feels like, the heart conflict, the brain, the soul, the body conflicting, with the thoughts, feelings, and emotions, then we can say one simple thing, which is, I want to feel better than this.
yeah,
And this is something that took me years, Nadine. I learned it from Abraham Hicks and Wayne Dyer and many other people. Everything I do is based on what I've learned from others,
yeah.
and then formulated and adopted and adapted through my divine downloads, and then my
Mm.
own integration. So once, this really did take me years. I have to confess and reveal here. People see me today. Now, the people like my kids and my old friends who know me and my sisters, they're like, who are you?
Yeah.
But they know who I have come to be. But
Mm.
once you can identify resistance, Nadine, then you can begin to say, I want to feel better than this. And
Yeah.
that single moment, that single line is what tells God, if you have a God or a universal source, or the
Mm.
universe, if you call it that, or universal energy, and most importantly, your soul, that you want to feel a little bit better and come into what we call alignment. So do you
Yeah.
understand the progression of that?
Yes, yeah, I totally do. And resistance is something that comes up in me a lot, as you know. It's quite often there, isn't it? So I love the fact how you have just beautifully described that, how we can, it's okay to be resistant, it's going to come up and that kind of thing for very good reasons sometimes, but to recognize it again, come into your consciousness, be aware, as you say all the time, and trust your intuition and tune back into your soul is so, so important, isn't it? And I think, as I say, you answer so beautifully in the book what soul alignment is, and you've explained it so well here. But also, you go on to say why it is so important. And, simply put, it is transformative, isn't it? And you say that, we're going to transform. Once we're able to transform, we can see where we want to go. We can make the right choices for us, can't we? When we are in tune. And I love that. And as you know, in my Calmer Self method, I say I give people transformation through relaxation. But you're going that one step further, which is beautiful, to actually go, tune into your soul, be in soul alignment, and you get that transformation and you can do that. So I love
Sometimes,
that. Yeah.
but sometimes it is the calmer self method,
Mm.
your calmer self method, that allows us to get some quiet
Yeah.
in order to
Mm.
become consciously aware. So this
Yes.
is a really important thing. You and I, we
Yeah.
both practice Qigong. We talk about Qigong. We help others with it. You have the calmer self method, right? The calmer self
Mm.
method. I invite people to tune in to
Yeah.
what that is. And
Yeah.
sometimes it does require some help or support to
Mm.
create a calmer space for
Yeah.
us to be able to even recognize resistance,
Yeah.
and then say, oh, I see I'm in resistance. And
Exactly.
now what do I want? I want to feel a little bit better. I want to feel
Mm.
more in sync. I want balance. I want centering, and I want to be in alignment. So
Yeah.
that's a very, very important point.
Mm.
I just wanted to address the word. I thank you so much. This is such a great conversation. You said why. I wrote in the book, why? Why is this
Yeah.
important? Quite
Yeah. Mm.
simply, it's transformative. In the day
Yes.
that I was in my stress and distress,
Mm.
in my early 30s, mid 30s, I would have said, that's not possible for me. I was so blocked and in such resistance that I would have said, as I did say to a therapist at that time, oh, that's not possible for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you
Mm.
and I, the middle-aged ladies that we are here to say it is possible. I want to
Exactly.
really
Exactly.
speak
Yeah.
to both our peers and also especially to younger people who are living just like you did. People want to find out my journey and Nadine's journey. Go to our YouTube pages and
Yeah.
you'll hear all about our conversations.
Yeah.
And what just came up for me, Nadine, was your younger self.
Totally. I was thinking exactly the same. Isn't this dear younger self, dear future self, isn't it?
Yeah,
I was thinking exactly the same. And again, your books, because it's all there, they all
yeah.
come together so beautifully, don't they? And I really, really love that. And you talk as well. You've got lots of sections in the book. There's a lot in. And again, they're small, easily readable books, and they are to use. You've got places to write in them. They're for you to actually do. You invite people to do certain things, don't you? So they're very usable and they're very transformative. I'm going to come back to that word. You know, going through your books is going to transform the way you think, feel, and be. And I love that. And you talk about self-agency, and this is something that you do a lot, isn't it? You know, have agent on yourself, you know, that kind of thing. I love the way you say that. And you talk about, when we just touched on it, a bit of being in silence, with feeling with grief and things like that. So again, you know, these are sections in the book. You cover so much in this one little book, especially, don't you? But you also, towards the end, you actually offer people some journaling prompts, I think you probably call them, you know, where you offer, well, you put some questions there for people to consider.
Yeah,
Would you like to, yeah, talk a bit about that? Yeah.
yeah, this was something that was new this time that I
Mm.
did, and I felt moved to do this. It's after the conclusion. I have some questions to consider.
Yes.
And the first question is, do you know what being in alignment feels like for you? So once again, I love how much you really get me and you get my books, even embedded in the very, very short page, 2-page chapters. Yeah, there's a lot of thinking for you to do. I encourage you to think actively. And so at the end of this book in particular, back to your comment about, why write a book like this, I felt moved to have several questions to
Yeah.
think further and think deeper, and perhaps to help you process and integrate this, but also and especially for you to speak about this with others. I had in mind book groups using this book, an actual book group talking about the soul, an
Yeah.
actual
Yeah.
book group talking
Yeah.
about the difference between alignment and resistance. And
Yeah.
so, and especially for partners to read this very short book. It's this tiny, it's so
Yes.
tiny.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then to have a little tiny bit of guidance on questions. If you're the kind of partnership that you can actually have real conversation with each other, I love the idea. I don't know if it's possible that a parent would be able to have this type of conversation with children.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
yeah, this was the first time I was moved to do that.
Mm.
Here's another question. Which alignment in this book can you most relate to?
Yeah.
Have you achieved it? If so, how did you come to that alignment? And that brings me to my table of contents. I mean, come on, Nadine, wasn't the table of contents fun?
Yes. Brilliant. Brilliant.
Just
So
just
yes.
the table of contents. Chapter 1, in alignment with your mind. Chapter
Mm.
2, in alignment with your body. Chapter 3, in alignment with your soul, with self-agency, with your feelings, with your intuition, with
Yeah.
enthusiasm. Here's
Yeah.
one, in alignment with your energy, in alignment with positivity. And of course,
Yeah.
Nadine, we have in alignment with grief.
We do.
Something that
We
you and
do.
I know
That's
only
what I
too
say.
well.
You cover so much, and you're so right. It's a tiny little book, but it's mighty, isn't it?
It
There's so
is.
much. So
It's so
much, isn't
good.
it?
And the last
Yeah.
chapter, it was very profound for me.
Mm.
Writing a book, by the way, Nadine, I can't wait for your book to come out. It's so good. And then you'll be on my bookshelf. And I just said that because writing a book is such an extraordinary experience. And the last chapter, I really did, was very poignant for me. I thought that this might be the end of this particular Soul Connection series. And the last chapter is titled In Alignment with Life, Self Acceptance.
Big.
I know it's so big. It's so great. I'm so happy for people to read this book, Nadine.
I can tell, and so am I. It's so exciting, isn't it? And I think as well, you've just said that this is such a perfect tool to use at book clubs to open up conversations. And don't we need that? Sometimes we do need a little bit of, like you say, those questions and conversations with your children, with your partner. They can be difficult. So again, you've given people tools to use, permission to do this, and ideas to use. And that's so beneficial for everybody, isn't it? But again, and this goes in line with another one of your books that we've discussed as well, your meditation book, where you invite people to try out different kinds of ways to meditate and everything. And again, we can do that with your beautiful questions there. Part of my Calmer Self method is to use gentle questioning, which I encourage
Yes.
people to do in meditation, and so we can use them in that way as well for ourselves. It can be something to share, but we can go inward again, and just to take that time and just pose I like to say gentle question, because then it gives it that kind of, it's not too difficult, and just pose one of your pick one and just see what comes up, because actually it is all in our soul, isn't it? And we need to sometimes be still, and one of your chapters is that, isn't it? To be still, to be peaceful, quiet, listening, tuning in. And so that's another lovely way to actually use this book, isn't it? To use those little prompts there for meditation, for conversations, any way that we want to. And I honestly feel that, by doing all of this, and again, it's small, there's nothing big, you can take little bits out. I like to read books in bits, I don't start at the beginning and end at the end. And I love to use a book to dip in and out for different things. And these are perfect ways to use your books, aren't they? But by the time people have gone through this, whether they read it the way it's written or whether they just pick bits out, they will definitely have become in soul alignment. Without a doubt, they will. You can't fail but be tuned in, can you, once you go through this book? So would you feel that, that's what you're wishing for people to just
That
feel it?
Nadine is asking me the question that I usually ask, which is, what do you want to happen as a result
I
of
know.
reading your book?
I
And
know.
yes, the answer is really going back to the beginning, which is to be comfortable in your skin. We're humans. It's not 100%. It's not perfection. It doesn't have to be. But to have the ability through the progression of the books, just like you say, or realizing all these different ways that we can be in alignment, or
Yeah.
more likely in resistance,
Yeah.
coming into alignment, and to really be able to have a more mature outlook in life. I talk to my young people about this all the time, not in a deprecating,
Mm,
juvenile way, but there's immaturity and there's
mm, mm,
maturity. And
mm.
when I have found myself speaking with young professionals, about having a more mature outlook, I can feel them begin to transform
Yes.
into maturity.
Yeah.
And so, yes, when people read this book in particular, I want them to really, at the end, have a tool that they can use every minute of every day, any minute that it's necessary, any day, anytime, especially in the hard times when you're fighting with your partner, when you're very, very, very worried about something at work, where you right away can identify, oh, this is resistance. And then do this. This is my visual, where you might be in resistance here, 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 and you come together. And then even deeper down in, if you interlock your fingers and you move them like this, it's all shaky and, back and forth, this is resistance. And if you bring them in and interlock them, then you can try to move them, you can try to shake them,
Mm,
but you'll feel how solid and secure they
mm.
are.
Oh,
And you can bring your hands, your fingers interlocked, your palms together. If you want, you can put your thumbs to your heart. And this is the simplest, quickest visual and physical movement, which is part of Qigong, where your mind focus can begin to settle just in the actual moment. Nobody else
mm.
has to know what you're doing. You don't have
Yeah.
to make a big deal about it, because in the end, it's really all about you. It's about whether you're in resistance, whether you can find the alignment, what the alignment looks like and feels to you. And sometimes if we have a visual, that it helps to make that
Yeah,
happen.
that's
Could you
lovely.
feel that, Nadine?
Definitely, definitely. And it's lovely to, people will be listening to this, not always watching, but you can do it yourself, can't you? And feel that. And
Right.
actually that's a beautiful, and again, quick and simple. It's a lovely thing to do. So I really feel, that
Oh, wait,
all
one
of
more
these.
thing. Sorry to
Mhm.
interrupt. I wanted to just address your use of the term gentle questioning. I love this. I loved it from the moment I met you. I loved it
Yeah.
from the moment I heard about you. I loved it from the moment I experienced your calmer self method. I love the use of the word gentle. I love the idea for everyone listening or viewing this to bring in Nadine's concept of gentle questioning. I love that you applied that to my book. I love that there's so many questions. All of my books ask a lot of questions all the
Yeah.
way through.
Yeah.
This one happens to have a list of questions at the end. I love this use of the idea, the feeling. It's almost tangible. You could feel
Mm,
it. It's not
mm,
hard ass questions. It's not pointed
no.
questions. It's not challenging questions, but rather gentle questioning of
Yeah.
yourself
Yeah.
or the one you love.
Yeah, totally. Thank you for that. It is beautiful, isn't it? Thank you for repeating that as well. And it is, someone said to me years ago, curiosity keeps you young. That's another one. So, question, people are scared of asking questions and looking deep within themselves. So, though, thinking like that, and like you say, using that term gentle questioning takes a bit of that fear away, doesn't it? And makes it easier for us to do, which is what we're all about, isn't it? So we are talking about, as I say, one of your books, your last one that you've done, your fifth one in this wonderful set, and they all work together so beautifully. They are a beautiful package, aren't they? They're wonderful to have all together. And as I say, you don't have to read them all. You can dip in and out. There's benefit even if you just. I sometimes like to just let a book fall open and see what it's saying to me. There's way you can use it in so many ways. But it is, as I say, it's lovely. They're lovely gifts, aren't they, as well?
Yeah.
And I do feel, and I just want to say, because people probably won't realise that the proceeds of these books go to a wonderful charity that you're co-founder of, aren't you? So would you like to just mention a bit about that?
Yes, I would. The first book that I published was published by an independent press that I helped to create several years ago, 10 years ago. It is the year 2024 now. It is the 10th anniversary of the organization called Jewish Girls Unite, which
Mm,
came as a partnership of myself with my dear friend, colleague, and cohort, Nechama Labor. And we started an organization coming together on a point of personal interest, helping our Jewish daughters become Jewish mothers, having a deeply integrated soul consciousness, not just in the, sort of culture of Judaism, but the deep consciousness of Judaism. That was a personal interest for both of us, and that's why we focused our energy on it. As part of creating this global organization, which has now become a global movement, I said there needs to be a press and there will be many books published. And in fact, there are many books published right
yeah.
now. And
Mm,
at some point, when I had some articles that I wanted to put together, Nechama said to me in 2018, I'm going to publish your work as a book. And that's how my book came about as a result of my working with her all those years prior and suggesting that she set up a press. That's how my first book became published. And after that, I was off to the races. And so I made a decision that the proceeds for all of these books, this entire series, any book purchase, 100% of the proceeds, the net proceeds go to Jewish Girls Unite. And so thank you for allowing me to share
yeah.
that story. I'm
Mm,
delighted. Someday I will be gone from the physical earth and these books will still be here. JGU, Jewish Girls Unite, will still be here. And these books will still be supporting that organization.
yeah. I love that. And that's a beautiful way to round this off, isn't it? These books will always be there for people, and they will help the people themselves. They will help the immediate people around the people that are reading your books and using them, but also it's going to help a wider set of people, isn't it? So they are wonderful. Thank you so much for writing these books, being who you are, and sharing them with everybody. They're so beautiful. Thank you so much, Susan.
I mean, it's such a pleasure, and I don't even know what to say. This is not the end of this conversation.
No, never
I
is.
think what we're going to do is a whole new round of conversations on each one of these books. I'm not done. I'm
Let's.
not done talking about them. The way you
No,
have read them and integrated them and interviewed me deserves a whole other round of conversation. So to my friends and readers, stay tuned. And to Nadine, thank you so much. I love and adore you, my friend, and I'm
thank
grateful
you.
for this opportunity. I'll see you
Thank you
next
so.
time.
Thank you so much, Susan. Look forward to the next one.